You're live.
You said we're live?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Good evening, everybody. At this time, we'll call to order the meeting of the Suffern Central Board of Education for Tuesday, November 17th, 2020. Let the record reflect that all board members are present. Heather, you're in person?
I am.
Okay, I just didn't see that. Wanted to make sure you were there. Okay. At this time, I'll read into the record the executive session agenda. The chair would entertain a motion to go into executive session for the purposes of reviewing with the acting superintendent of schools, assistant superintendent for human resources, and school attorney, employment history of employee number 11172020A. Reviewing with the acting superintendent of schools, assistant superintendent for human resources, and school attorney, employment history of employee number 11172020B. Reviewing with the acting superintendent of schools and school attorney 2 potential winter sports contracts. Reviewing with the acting superintendent of schools, assistant superintendent for human resources, and school attorney specific FOIL requests. Reviewing with the acting superintendent of schools and school attorney potential breach of executive session content, and reviewing responses for the superintendent RFP. So that was the executive motion. We've already held executive, and those were the items that were discussed. So at this time, let's rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. Student report. Who's up first?
Hi, everyone. My name is Sophia Kaja. I'm just going to be going over a few of the sports updates that we have. So the JV and varsity girls tennis went undefeated this season, and the varsity girls tennis were the regional champions. The JV field hockey had an undefeated season, and the varsity girls field hockey plays home tomorrow against North Rockland at 4:15 p.m. And the boys varsity soccer plays at North on Wednesday in a first round regional playoff game. And the girls varsity soccer plays at South on Thursday in a first round of regional championship game as well. Cross country has their regional championship meet this weekend, and all of these events are live streamed, and a link can be found on the SHS Athletics website to see live.
Thank you, Sophia.
All right, great, thank you.
Thanks, Sophia. Great job.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Melissa.
Hi. So first, I'm just going to give a quick update on how some sports are doing. So we have JV and varsity girls tennis went undefeated this season, and the varsity girls were the regional champs. JV field hockey also had an undefeated season, so that was very exciting as well. Suffern High School's virtual office hours will be starting this week. So on this Thursday, office hours will start virtually at 7:00 p.m. for people with the last names from A to K. And they'll also be held next Tuesday at 7:00 p.m. for people with the last names from L to Z. In addition to these virtual meetings, Model UN will be having a county-wide virtual meet tomorrow. And lastly, on Monday, November 23rd, Suffern High School will be having a makeup picture day after school, and this is available for all students at Suffern High School. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. Great job.
Thank you both. Okay.
Thank you.
1.08 minutes of the regular meeting of November 3rd. Do I have a motion?
Moved.
Mr. McKenzie, there's second?
Second.
Mr. Shapiro? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those against?
Aye.
Any abstentions? Okay. Okay. 1.09, acting superintendent comments.
All right, I have a few comments tonight. I'm going to start by recapping last night. We had a wonderful live stream event, our November Suffern Streams event, included many members of our community who organize and support various philanthropic organizations that support our families. So we had speakers from the Sloatsburg Food Pantry, Joyce Donahue from the Sloatsburg Food Pantry, and Joyce also spoke for the Sloatsburg PTA and their Stockings for Troops drive. Marion Walsh, social worker, Viola and Montebello also talked about the food pantry and the work happening in those elementary schools. We had the Girl Scouts from Connor, and we had the Suffern Middle School Student Council, Steph Shada and Jennifer Fruling, and their food drive that they're doing. We had the Suffern High School Pause for Change, which was really exciting. They have a number of activities that support pets during the upcoming holiday season. And the Suffern Police Department spoke about the toy drive, which is happening this year. It's going to be a little different, particularly the organizing of the toys and the physical distribution. But Suffern Police Department is on it, and so there is a toy drive. I know there were a lot of questions about that. And then we had Sergeants James Donatino and Sergeant Dan Kiernan. And from the Suffern Rotary, we had Larry Plant. And they spoke about their activities, the newest of which is a student health closet, which is set up at All Souls Church in Suffern. I believe it was, I can't remember if it was Saturday or Sunday now, but it's in the presentation from 10 a.m. to 12, where any middle school or high school student can stop by the church and get free toiletries, shampoo, conditioner, toothbrush, toothpaste, any deodorant, any types of items they might need. So that's their newest venture with the Rotary. We also have the Connor PTA, who are doing a clothing drive in December. So it was a really wonderful event and an opportunity to have so many of the philanthropic activities that occur in our community, and particularly this time of year. If anyone is interested in donating, if you go back and look at the presentation, there are links, email addresses, phone numbers where you can reach out. And if anyone is in need, we encourage you to also reach out to those same emails and phone numbers, and they're all included in that presentation. I also want to talk about sort of a new recognition we started this year, and it began over the summer, or at the very beginning, opening day of the school year, with the concept of a marigold, which for those of you who are gardeners know that marigolds are considered companion plants, because what marigolds do is they help other plants grow better. And so in thinking about the school year that we were embarking on this year, where everybody was doing something they had never done before, we've taken a moment this year to recognize our marigolds. And so staff are encouraged to nominate a colleague who has helped them to grow and flourish this year, just like a marigold plant does in a garden. So in October, the staff members listed above have all been recognized for being marigolds of the month. They were nominated by their colleagues. And in November, we've had quite a few colleagues recommended. And so it's really important that these folks have been nominated by their colleagues for reaching out, supporting each other, helping them grow and flourish during these times. It's just been so rewarding to see how much support our staff has provided to each other during this time. In addition, I like that clapping. In addition, when springtime rolls around, I will be donating marigolds to all of our school gardens in honor of all the recipients of the marigolds of the month throughout the year. So thank you all. Thank you. Keep the nominations coming and keep all that support for each other. It's the only way we're going to get through all this. So thank you.
Thank you, everyone. That was a great job. Thanks for everything.
That was very unexpected, and I think that that's a really great way to recognize, all of our staff, especially with everything that's going on. I think we're only successful if we're functioning as a team, and that's really, I think, what that's all about. I think that's great.
You need anything?
Okay. The 1.10 public participation. This is public participation on action items only. I can't tell. Is there anybody in the audience tonight or no?
No.
No. Okay. Heather, do you have anything to read for this portion?
No discussion.
No. Okay.
No, not this one.
Okay. So we'll close this portion of the meeting. We'll go to action items. This will be action items 2.01 through 2.12. I'd like to call for a consent agenda. Is there any item that anybody wishes to pull at this time? No? Okay. So we will go with a consent agenda for action items 2.01 through 2.12. Do I have a motion?
Moved.
Mr. McKenzie. Second.
Second.
Mr. Cairns. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Against? Any abstentions? Okay. Great. Let's move down to discussion items. This is item 5.01. This is a discussion on COVID-19 considerations. I'll let Lee sort of start and get the conversation going, and then I think we'll take it from there.
So we know we've been hearing in the news and media, and one of our Rockland districts has already made a decision about So we know we've been hearing in the news and media, and one of our Rockland County districts has already made a decision about what in one case they're going to do. Actually, they're starting before Thanksgiving, and the concept is the loose term that has arisen to describe it is a holiday pause. That with the holidays coming and the expected increase in exposures, what are the district's thoughts on either preemptively or reactively making decisions about in-person learning and remote learning? And so there have been all kinds of ideas tossed around. I have had parents reach out to me. I've had staff members reach out to me with the ideas kind of running from do nothing and have as many people in the building, have as many kids in the buildings as we can, because I do get plenty of those emails too, to maybe think about pausing for a week after Thanksgiving, maybe think about pausing next week and the week after, maybe think about pausing the week or two after Thanksgiving. And when I say pausing, what that would mean would be a return to full remote learning for all students. And we know that one of our Rockland County districts has announced that they're going to pause from next week through Martin Luther King Day, which is mid-January. That is a 6.5 weeks of school during that time. And so I wanted to give the board the opportunity to share their thoughts on this and answer any questions that the board may have. I just have the opportunity to discuss it.
All right, thank you. I think we should start by going around and everybody, if everybody wants to take an opportunity to ask, Lee, if there's questions that maybe Lee can answer for anybody, or if you have an opinion already on what you think may be beneficial, I think we should put it out there and then we'll talk about it.
Just a point of information. Is it possible that Lee could tell us a little about how the program is working? In other words, when we started school, how many students were in class? How many were home? How many are now as of November 17th in class? Has it increased? Has it decreased? What's going on with the program at this point?
So it varies very much by level. Elementary is still, while maybe a few more are remote than they were when we first started back at the end of September, there are many students in school. In fact, when I go to kindergarten and first grade classes, it's often perfect attendance. And remember, we have our kindergartners and our first graders in 4 days a week. So that's very noticeable and very significant. The numbers do vary greatly at the secondary level, particularly at the high school. The last couple of weeks, we had a number of teens in quarantine. So attendance was down pretty significantly at the high school, partly because I think at one point we had 100 kids in quarantine.
Yes.
And so, that has varied. We also, I would say that the pattern is with the oldest kids, particularly at the high school, they are choosing to go full remote so that they reduce their exposure and reduce the possibility of quarantine and missing other things in their life, whether that be sports or activities, or even with Thanksgiving coming up, we have had families say that they're going to go full remote because they want to make sure they can see their grandparents or other family members during Thanksgiving. That happens a lot more at the high school level than at the other levels. We've also had the 7th grade has not been in for the past 2 weeks, so it's a little hard to judge at the middle school. The middle school's light, but that's because the whole 7th grade isn't in. So, it varies a lot.
So if we focus on the high school just for a minute, what percentage would you say of students are full remote right now at the high school level?
It's hard to say. We had a whole bunch that said they're going on remote for the holidays. We've been more flexible than some districts. Some districts have really taken a hard line that you go remote for the quarter or you go remote for the semester. We have been more flexible than that. So that's why it's hard to judge. I would say initially, I think right when we came in September 29th, I think we were at 400 out of the 1,500 remote, might have been 500. We're probably closer to 700 or 800 now, but with some of those being these, we're going to go remote for the holidays.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have
Tommy, it looked like you wanted to say something.
I was just going to ask, can people mute? I'm getting a lot of feedback here. Thanks, guys.
Okay.
Thanks, Matt.
Matt, I have something to say.
Yep.
I just wanted to say that I think that everybody in our community has different needs. Some people need to have their children in school because they need the daycare during the day because both parents work, and other people are terrified of their child getting sick by coming into school and want to be totally remote. And I can respect both perspectives. I just think that pausing takes away one of those choices. And I think that we should leave it up to the parents how they choose to continue with their children. I mean, if you go and you do make it where the kids can only be remote, people are going to suffer in terms of daycare and not be able to take care of their children. But if you leave the option open where the children can come in, those that are not comfortable can still, if there's going to be some sort of holiday interaction with family coming in and such and are afraid, people just need to be responsible. And if you do have that intermingling and, mixing of households and family and friends, be responsible and keep your children home and let them be remote until you're sure that they're not sick and they can go back to the school safely. So I just think that we should just leave that decision with the families and just with the precursor of saying, act responsibly as we all have during this pandemic. You're muted, Matt.
Yep. Tommy, that's your fault. Anybody want to go next?
Yeah, Matt,
Yes.
just to dovetail off what Angus was saying, I also think, to give families choices to assess their risk as well. I think that's an important thing medically. Some families are at higher risk, some kids are at higher risk. So I think allowing families to assess their risk in general, I think is really important, and it's very similar to what Angus was saying. I think going on a mandated pause, I think takes that choice away from families that are low risk and feel comfortable, obtaining that risk and sending their kids to school, whereas other families and other children may not feel as comfortable, and so they have the choice to go virtual. So and I tell my patients all the time, assess your family risk, assess your individual risk, and then plan accordingly. And I think that's a big aspect of this. So that's what I would say.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I totally, I understand and respect that too. Paul, thoughts?
This is, geez, I could be 50% right, or I could be 50% wrong. It's really that. I mean, Angus brought up an excellent point, and Chris also. It's if we just leave it up, obviously there's always that, what if, and if that happens, then obviously that's what dictates to us what we have to do. If numbers all of a sudden completely spike within our community, then we have no choice. But I guess while we do have the choice, and I get it, for either financial reasons or, just, the feeling of parents and also the feeling of the kids. Listen, it's very important. The social piece is extremely important. The teachers have been doing a terrific job. I mean, at the elementary level, it's so important for the kids to be in front of a teacher. The same can be said for middle school and high school. But the middle school, a little bit older, and obviously high school, a lot older than the elementary students. They do pretty much on their own, a lot of independence there. But giving, since we do have the choice at the moment, it's probably, if we stay the course and if numbers don't go nuts, I guess we'll be all right. But we really have to be safe, and I guess that's the main part. So Angus, thank you for bringing that up. I never really thought of it that way, but I guess I did, but you kind of really brought it right into my face. So thank you for that. And Chris, you too, because I don't want to leave you out.
Thank you. I'll keep going down my screen. Don, do you have an opinion?
Yeah, basically, I think you have to look at some of the statistics that are going on right now. And if you're watching, television or anything like that, some of them are basically at this point, there's one person dying each minute in the US because of the coronavirus, okay? There's over 100 million children who've already caught the virus. I think North Rockland was smart in terms of taking that, if you want to call it the holiday pause, because you have Thanksgiving coming up. There are a number of stats which are saying that people are still going to go on with a large family gathering, which is very nice, but the problem then remains after that. Okay, when they come back to school, you also have a number of students coming back from the colleges who will be, basically having Thanksgiving here, and obviously going out and having a great time with the students and so forth. And I think really, to keep the teachers, safe and sound, it really, I think, would behoove us to take that little pause and, not wait. Okay, I think North Rockland really was being proactive. in the whole situation. Whereas if we wait until the teacher dies and then you're going to make a change at that point, I think it's a little bit too late. I don't know, I just have a feeling that we could do the pause. You could actually have the teachers still come into the buildings and do the work in terms of virtual from the buildings, which would make it even better for them. Okay, but to not take the pause, knowing that everybody in the U.S., all 47 or 48 states, okay, the virus is on the uptick. So why wait until we have a problem? Be proactive. Take that break. I don't think we're losing. From what I understand, in terms of the number of students in the classrooms, particularly at the middle school and the high school, are negligible at this point. So maybe it would behoove us to, work with the teachers, work to have a better program for the next couple of weeks, particularly after Thanksgiving. That's going to be the high point, and also it's going to be the flu season, which is also the high point at the same time.
Okay.
My thoughts.
Thank you. Tom, thoughts? You paused.
Thanks, Matt. I just got there. Thank you. I think the numbers are going to drive us to decisions that we have to make, and as long as the numbers are where they are, I support staying status quo. I recognize, both situations here, but we have to be diligent for the people that are coming into the building. They have to follow the DEC guidelines, and hopefully they do. It's about everybody. It's about taking care of everybody, and those families that need the reverse. Let's do it that way. No, I think we should continue, and let's see where the numbers go, and that'll direct us from there. But right now, I say, keep it going, status quo.
All right. It's like Paul said, right? You're either 50% right or 50% wrong. And I think this is sort of you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't type of decision to make. And I respect and understand everything everybody has said. I have to say that personally, I think I probably tend to lean more along what Don had said. Numbers are spiking everywhere. At the same time, the fact that there are more students going full remote shows that, parents are making those difficult choices and the tough choices for their individual homes. So, that would go along with, with what Angus had said and what Chris had said and what Paul had said, that, you're leaving that choice to them, to the parents and the household, and you hope that they make the right decision for their groups. I think, to me, the one big concern that I have about doing nothing is not so much the parents and the students doing the right thing. It's the staff, and it's the situation that they're put into by not doing anything. They don't have that type of flexibility that a student has. My gut is not to go as far as North Rockland did. I mean, I understand why, and I don't criticize them for it. I'm not sure if I think it's necessary for us to take a 6.5 week pause. I think that perhaps at a minimum, maybe we should take a week pause after Thanksgiving. I think that would give an opportunity for people who have, gone to bigger gatherings, or I think like Don said, you have students coming home from college. It would give an opportunity for people that have been exposed or that do wind up becoming sick, an opportunity to not put other people in harm's way, perhaps unknowingly, if, say, they're asymptomatic. Again, I don't think that at this point in time we need to make a decision to shut down through the new year. The numbers may drive us to that. Who knows? We could decide to take a pause for a week after Thanksgiving, and by the end of that week, numbers could be through the roof, and we need to make different decisions at that time. But for now, I guess my opinion would be, I would support doing a week pause after Thanksgiving, and I guess reassessing from there. That's my opinion.
Matt, do you know the quarantine? Is it 5 days now after? I don't know, honestly. I don't know. They're all different numbers.
It's supposed to be 2 weeks.
Positive?
2 weeks.
Oh, after travel. So New York recently changed the law or the order to say if you test 3 days before you come back from a quarantine state, come into the state, quarantine for 3 days, and then test negative, that qualifies you to come out of quarantine. That was a recent change in the last couple of weeks to that executive order. Otherwise mandating 14 days quarantine, but that was a recent change.
So
thanks, Chris. Thank you.
But I think as it relates to this, staff and students who have to quarantine because they've either tested positive or they've been in close contact with somebody who tested positive have a 14-day quarantine.
Right.
That's correct. As it stands now,
That's still the same.
Recommendation for a non-travel for just a positive exposure in a classroom. That's right. It's still 14 days.
Yeah.
Okay.
14 days is a long time, especially if you're negative and you're not, and you have no symptoms. And 14 days is a long time.
Yes.
I'm sure it's just as bad if you're sick. I should have minimized. That's not what I meant. And I don't mean to minimize somebody that's sick. I just mean, it's a long time for somebody to have to sit around and wait, So Lee, I don't know if that helped you in any way.
No, it does. It always helps to hear your thoughts. I think that it is very likely that we'll make some sort of statement by the end of the week, just so that people have an idea. I am curious to see how the rest of this week goes. If you had asked me last Wednesday how I thought this week was going to go, and in fact, I think I might have said to Dr. Castaldo what I thought was going to happen this week, it hasn't happened. So we have had since Wednesday, which I believe last Wednesday, was that 10 days after Halloween?
Yes.
So interestingly, Halloween does seem to have been in our community much less of a spreader than in some of our neighboring communities. But that it was interesting that we had a lot of activity right around between that sort of 6 days out from Halloween to 10 days out from Halloween. And it's been very, very quiet since. You want to put it that way. So
and I think that would be exactly my concern with Thanksgiving.
Right. So I think that will definitely inform our thinking. And I would say for the community to expect a decision by the end of this week.
Okay.
Thanks, Lee.
All right. So then just before we close this and move on, does anybody have anything else they want to add or everybody's good here? That's good? Okay. Well, all right. Thank you, everybody. And I guess we'll stand by and wait for some answers by the end of the week, hopefully. 6.01 board member comments. Any board members have anything they'd like to say at this time or any comments to make? Paul?
Yes. Congratulations, and obviously very well deserved to those staff members who were recognized in the Marigolds list for both October and November. That's a terrific idea. It's definitely a morale booster, and I think it's great. I also want to congratulate, we have 3 teams, 2 at the JV level and 1 at the varsity level, who went through undefeated seasons. That's not too easy to do. A team that's a bit close to me, the Pittsburgh Steelers, currently are undefeated. The fact that I'm making that statement now, they'll probably suffer their first loss, but
Not good, Paul, not good.
I know, right, knock, right. But anyway, to go through a whole season and not to lose a game or not to lose a match is really shows how well they're coached and how well they work as a team. So congratulations to both the varsity and JV tennis team and the JV field hockey team. And I just hope everyone remains healthy and that their families remain healthy. There's some bright stuff on the horizon that we've all been reading about and hearing about and watching on the tube about. And let's just hope that, 6 months from now, we can take that big sigh of relief and say, hey, we made it through.
Go Jets.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? No? Okay, I just have a couple of things I do want to say, just so that the public is aware. Just 2 things, really. One is about the board vacancy. So currently, we are still accepting applications for the board vacancy seat. I believe, Heather, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that is open until Friday the 20th.
That's correct, yeah.
At that time, we will review all the applicants, and I think what we'll probably do is have a section at our meeting on December 1st to conduct the public interviews. I know I said last time for the community that the interviews need to be held in public, so we will be doing that at the meeting on December 1st. The second thing I wanted to mention is that we are working towards contracting with a superintendent search firm, and we will be holding, I guess, interviews or meetings with prospective firms over the next couple of weeks. Now, those will be obviously private, those will be executive session. I just wanted the community to know that there will be a special meeting called likely next week, and the purpose of that special meeting will be for the superintendent search firm meetings. So that was really all I wanted to say, and from there we can move on. Public participation on any district-related matters. Heather, do you have anything to read for this portion of the meeting?
Yeah, we do.
Yes. Okay. Could you just tell me how many?
4.
4. Okay.
Okay, so the first one I have is from Paul Lubineski. He is the Suffern Central SEPTA president, which is the special education PTA. On behalf of Suffern Central SEPTA, I would first like to take this opportunity to thank you for all of the support that you have provided our organization in the past. I look forward to your continued support. I would like to also use this platform to inform the public about our organization. SEPTA is a district-wide organization whose purpose is to provide information to parents and the broader community on special education issues and services. We work to foster understanding, respect, support, and appropriate education for all students with different abilities in our community. As always, we'd like to encourage members of the public to support us and become members, and students are eligible to be members as well. One of the programs that we host annually is our We Are One ceremony, where we recognize staff members who have gone above and beyond in assisting students with special needs. I am asking that the board allow us to conduct the brief ceremony during a district school board meeting, as it was several years ago. Also, I'd like to point out that December 2nd is National Special Education Day, the anniversary of when IDEA was signed into law. Thank you for allowing me to share this information. I do hope that you would consider putting the We Are One ceremony on a meeting agenda during the months of May or June. Paul Lubinetsky.
Thank you.
Okay. Next one I have is, this is from Maureen Ritter, who is a teacher and teacher in the district. Good evening. I am thankful to have this opportunity to have my letter of concern read to you this evening. My name is Maureen Ritter, and I'm proud to be a resident of the Suffern community for the past 30 years and a 15-year veteran teacher at Suffern Middle School. Tonight, I'm writing to you from quarantine. I am one of the 15 teachers at the middle school that are home due to direct exposure to one of our COVID positive students. I would like to thank my building administrators and our school nurses. They have done their absolute best to keep our students and staff safe. For them, added burdens such as finding coverage for classes and contact tracing have been added to the enormous task of running a school building during a pandemic. It has been a tough few weeks, all set against a backdrop of rising rates of COVID-19 infections in our community, state, and country. Suffern Central has always been at the fore of anticipating the needs of our school community. From the distribution of individual devices so that we can work remotely, down to the steps taken to make our buildings safe, Suffern Central has always done its best to protect our students and staff during the ongoing pandemic. Suffern continues to be an example of how a school and community should be. It is for this very reason that we must take a hard look at pausing our hybrid program in favor of a fully remote schedule from before Thanksgiving to after the winter break. As educators and administrators, our business is human behavior. We know that gatherings will occur over the holidays, which will lead to a further spike in cases. We have only to look at the increased cases of COVID after Halloween to validate this. The spike in the nation's COVID cases are beyond what we saw during the spring. While the rates of COVID in our schools hovers at slightly above 1%, the World Health Organization tells us that each person who is infected can be responsible for infecting up to 2 people. In the middle school alone, that would be approximately 12 cases, which yields a total of 36 in just days. Those statistics are expected to increase dramatically as the result of our holidays. Sadly, we have already suffered much sickness and some deaths in our community. Yes, our children need to be in school, and so do the adults who teach them. There are no perfect solutions to the effects of this pandemic, but there are better and worse ones. We need only to look at the 50 teachers quarantined at the middle school caused by one known active case. As teachers, we long for the day that we can return to our classrooms. We don't want to call out sick or take leaves. We need to be present for our children, even if it must be remotely. To keep our schools open safely in the future, we must pause and close now to prevent the continued spread of COVID-19. We do not want to prolong our absence. Suffern Central needs to demonstrate the leadership that it has always shown to others. As Mounties, we've always shown that our concern extends beyond our district. Suffern Central will continue the leadership that it has always demonstrated. As a matter of public health and concern, we must pause in-person learning now.
Thank you.
Okay, and this is from Liza Medina Martin, also an employee of Suffern Central. As an employee of Suffern Central School District for 23 years, I have seen this district through many administrations. I have always been proud that our district permitted us to do what was cutting edge, to experiment with what would be most engaging and most beneficial for the young people we teach. We have always had a sense of self-awareness about what works best for our community and what is in the best interest of our students. Unfortunately, we find ourselves in unprecedented time during which what is the best interest of our students seems unclear. This year, I have seen the stress and the worry our young people wear daily as they endure this pandemic. I've seen students flinch at the sound of a classmate sneezing. I've seen students panic at the sight of an empty desk where a friend should be seated. I've had to reassure students that a missing classmate didn't pose a threat to their own health and well-being. With the growing COVID-19 numbers in our community, our middle schoolers are not ignorant to this illness or what the potential outcomes are. Our attendance reflects that. At the start of the year, my classes were intended to be 15 students, the recommended maximum. My largest class now holds 11 students and my smallest only 5. The goal of education is typically academic evolution, social growth, and character development. In our current situations, these goals have been stunted, and for as long as they could, teachers have fought to find ways to make them occur. Social interaction is dangerous, so we learned how to use breakout rooms. Academic growth is challenging for struggling learners, so we have offered countless hours of extra help and one-on-one tutorials to those who need it. However, here's something people seem to forget. Frightened children can't learn. Worried children won't thrive. Teachers will refer to this as Maslow before Bloom. Researchers have long taught educators that if a child's core safety and security needs aren't met, their academic evolution cannot occur. According to the American Academy of Pediatrics and the Children's Hospital Association, in a report dated November 12, 2020, 1 in 11 people testing positive for COVID-19 in the U.S. are school-aged children. The fairy tale that our young are immune is over. Asymptomatic spread between children is a very real threat. With such positive developments in terms of a vaccine coming from Pfizer and Moderna just this week, is it too much to ask that we take a pause as a district? Is it too much to ask that we return to our students a sense of safety and security? We are well aware that during the holiday season, socialization will continue, which increases everyone's risk. I request that we once again be self-aware and make the best call for our community. Please do not wait for the overwhelmed Rockland County Department of Health to tell us what is right for our students, our teachers, or our community.
Thank you.
Okay, and the last one, this is from the Suffern Education Association Executive Board.
Okay. So this is not an individual?
It is from a group.
Okay.
Would you like me, I was going to read that they're employees.
Oh, okay.
So Andrew Gibson, Robert Marina, Christine D'Souza, Jim Marina, John Canty, Patty Marie. Last week, several teachers were first informed by a member of the public that the district released private information from a reopening survey conducted in July. These teachers also happened to be parents in the district. The information was released as a result of a Freedom of Information Act request. It turns out that the personal information of 1,688 parents was compromised. This data included personal information about their children's educational needs as well as the community members' private email addresses. According to the district, every FOIL request is reviewed and, as in this case, approved by the law firm representing the Board of Education, Shaw, Harrelson, May, and Lambert. Under the advice of this law firm, the district prepares and sends out the requested documents. Ultimately, the district acts on advice of counsel when sharing information with the public. Unfortunately, this is the fourth time that we know about in the last several years that private information has been released by the district. In the last 3 incidences, the current Board of Education lawyers have been directly involved in the dissemination of this information. In each case, the district has asked for the erroneously exposed information returned or for the information to be erased. When the former board president downloaded hundreds of district files to her private account, the law firm merely asked her to return them. When hundreds of employee social security numbers were inadvertently released, an email was sent by the district asking the recipients to delete the file. In one instance, student identities were easily determined because the attorneys for the district did not redact their initials before publicly sharing sensitive documents. In all cases, the district has taken no tangible action to correct their mistakes, and their high-priced law firm has not been held accountable for their carelessness. We are disappointed that the district continues to downplay these incidences. Our greatest concern from the most recent release of private information is that the information has been disseminated publicly. We know that the district has no control over individuals publicly sharing information once in their possession. However, as teachers, we are extremely disappointed that the district allowed personal parental student information to be shared in the first place. When filling out district surveys, staff and parents are asked to be truthful and honest when responding. Never did one think that the district would share their personal responses with the community, nor did we imagine someone would request this information, then share it. This entire situation is deeply disturbing. Releasing private information once is a mistake. Releasing private information on multiple locations is negligent. Contrary to the district's opinion, the dissemination of private information is a big deal. Our teachers are still dealing with the repercussions of previous data breaches. I'll repeat, it's a big deal in this day and age to release private student, parent, and employee information to the public. Two things are clear. One, the district and its law firm need to be held accountable for this egregious violation of trust. Number two, anyone sharing this information needs to be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. This is not a one-time event, it's a pattern and it needs to be dealt with. We will take the appropriate actions on our end and we hope the district will do the same.
Thank you. Okay, so is that all of it? Still do 4? Okay. Okay. Sorry?
That's it.
Okay. All right. At this time, we'll close this portion of the meeting and move to closing comments. The acting superintendent.
So I just want to, we had a few comments tonight about quarantine, and I just want to reiterate, I know I've shared this in some communications, but there are some things I have learned about quarantine that I think it's really important to share. The Rockland County Department of Health casts a very wide net when it comes to quarantine. So if you notice, and I don't know, Eric, if you can sort of pan around us right now, you can see that the administrators, board member, and district clerk that are here are very comfortably sitting 6 feet or more apart from each other. We're all socially distanced, we're all wearing masks. I don't know if I'm allowed to put Dr. Nick Pun on the spot, but Dr. Nick Pun, would you be comfortable as a doctor saying right now that the likelihood if one of us were positive of us spreading it to each other was low, high?
Probably 0.
Probably 0. That's more than I was hoping for. So the risk of, if one of us, none of us are sick, don't worry. But if one of us were, the risk of us transmitting it is extremely, extremely low because we're taking the necessary precautions. However, if one of us were sick, the Rockland County DOH would tell us all we need to quarantine because we were in this room together for more than 10 minutes. Even though we were 6 feet apart, even though we all had masks on, according to the Department of Health, they would tell us we need to quarantine. Because really what quarantine does is it very emphatically helps stop the spread. So if by some slight chance there was an interaction that resulted in something, then the spread wouldn't occur. If we're in quarantine, it wouldn't continue to occur. And that's what we've seen in our schools. While I recognize that we have had large numbers of students and large numbers of staff in quarantine, we also haven't seen any resultant spread. That's true of our sports teams, it's true of our classrooms. Many of our positive cases, it's also important to point out, we usually don't share it, but are asymptomatic, particularly with our students, are almost always asymptomatic. And so we know that while quarantine is uncomfortable, frustrating, annoying, difficult for some families, it really places an inability for parents to work. It also is one of the measures, along with wearing masks and keeping socially distanced, washing our hands, using hand sanitizer, all of those things that really helps us to stop the spread. So I just wanted to, because it's come up several times, that there is a difference between quarantining and being sick and stopping the spread. So the PPE we use, the measures we take help us from getting sick. That still may mean we need to quarantine according to the Rockland County Department of Health. The girls at the beginning took a little of my thunder here, all the mentions of the sports. We've had tremendous outcomes for both our girls tennis teams, varsity and JV, and our JV field hockey. We also have a number of events coming up. First of all, the middle school track is going to be open on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 5 to 7 with the lights on. We have requests. Because we're not using it as much, the lights haven't been on as much. So with the sun setting earlier, we've had requests to have the lights on. So we'll have the lights on from 5 to 7, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And folks are welcome to walk the track if we don't have events going on in the field. We are not allowing use of the field as we have not without a permit, and we're not giving really permits out. And that's just an effort to maintain our well-kept field. We do have some upcoming sports. Varsity field hockey has a regional semifinal game. They're hosting North Rockland tomorrow afternoon. Varsity boys soccer tomorrow afternoon is at Clarkstown North. JV cross country has a home meet tomorrow at the high school. On Thursday, the girls soccer team will be at Clarkstown South, and cross country, varsity cross country this weekend will have a sectional championship on Saturday. All of those events can be watched via live stream. And if you just go to the Google Calendar, the district calendar, and click on the event, if you click it to open it up, it'll give you the live stream. You can do it from the Google Calendar. You can also do it from the athletics calendar. And that's been great. I know it's a little weird to not be able to go to all of your kids' games or your friends' games, but at least being able to watch it on live stream is fun. It's actually more fun, to be honest, to watch it afterwards with the person you're watching, because they tell you what's going on. You know, there's no play-by-play, so it's a little quiet. But it is a nice way, to still get to see people. So we can't go out to these events, but we do want to, encourage folks to watch the live stream and keep up. So some exciting games this week. And lastly, I want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving. To our board, thank you for all you do. To the administrators here tonight, thank you for all you do. Happy Thanksgiving. And of course, to our community, our staff, and our families, we wish you the best. We will be in touch, as I said, later this week with information about what we're going to do after Thanksgiving. Thank you.
All right, great. Thank you very much. And I would just say the same. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Just everybody be safe. And I know everybody's got a different idea of what that means, and everybody's going to do something different, I'm sure, for the holiday. And just be safe for yourself, not just for the schools and everything else that's going on, but for you and for your families. Do the best you can to have a great Thanksgiving under the circumstances that we're all under. So I wish that to my fellow board members, to administration, to the staff, to the community, to everybody. Happy Thanksgiving. And other than that, let's have a motion to adjourn.
Moved.
Mr. McKenzie, there's a second?
Second.
Mr. Cairns? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you all very much, and happy holiday.
Happy
Good night,
Thanksgiving.
all. Same.
Stay safe.
Holiday, everybody.
Talk to you soon. Good night.
Yep, good night.